Monaghan, the pub where I was born. He played it from the night time to the peaceful early morn. He served the souls of psychos and
All right, Fighting Irish Faithful, here we go. Let's do this. It's time. Woohoo! Game time. Ooh, hopefully I didn't just blow everyone out of their car speakers there with the excitement and the intensity that we're going to have tonight. Thank you, everyone, and welcome to the Fighting Irish Faithful show, Season 4, Episode 6. Even though this is the beginning of Game 1, or we'll have Game 1 this Saturday. I am Joe at Faithful_Irish on the Twitter. Find the Fighting Irish Faithful show on all your podcast places. Well, we're not on the same YouTube channel. We're now powered and part of the Dos Leprechauns media universe. And if you are live on Twitter, we're saying that we're also live from Ireland. And that is because Red Snapper, well, he's still working, neener, because it's 4 o'clock still on the west coast of the United States. But my co-host tonight is live from Ireland. That's right, we brought him back. At Stevie D Irish on the Twitter. Welcome back to the Fighting Irish Faithful show, co-host for the week, and much deserved.
Co-host, thanks very much. Yeah, I hope I can live up to Red Snapper's high standards by co-hosting, but thanks for having me.
I don't know if Red Snapper has high standards or your standards are really low, but that's okay.
We'll find out, I suppose.
We'll see. Well, if the show's popularity is really high, then, the people have spoken, and maybe I need to talk to the doc about moving the show up earlier, right? Because, people like this co-host, sorry, brother. He won't hear this until the...
Bye. Yeah.
Anyway, so if you don't know this gentleman, we'll get into a little bit of his story later. But if you're really savvy with the podcast, I've actually done some show prep / research, listening to last year's shows. Yes, that's what I do in my spare time. Whatever. I have no life, of course, because I have a toddler, and I'm married. Whatever. Sorry, honey. No, I mean, seriously, like my life is committed to very specific things, and this is one very, very niche part of my life. But I recall listening to the North Carolina show, the post-game show from that episode, which, Stevie, I think that was the first time you jumped on live to one of our shows.
I think so, yeah.
Yeah. Now I remember from a previous podcast that is how I first found out about you and this, that, and the other. And we don't have to get into that whole story about how we became friends on the internet. But yeah, we're gonna start with the Twitter shout out. Is to you, Stevie D Irish, here because it's what time is it over there in Ireland?
It's almost 10 minutes past 12 midnight.
Oh, happy Wednesday, right?
Happy Wednesday, yeah.
Yeah, so our listeners who are going to be listening to this on their commute to work, you're going to be like, hold my beer, right?
Absolutely, yeah.
Yeah, hopefully you don't have a big presentation or something like that at work to...
No, definitely not.
That's
no.
good. I do, so what's my excuse, but... Well, that's good. So before we get into anything else, we'll get some of the formalities addressed. Yes, we're on Dos Leprechauns, so hit us up on Facebook and our YouTube channel, Dos Leprechauns. But the podcast version is still on your iTunes and Spotify and all those places that you normally listen to us. And we're going to go straight into the toast. The toast is to my spouse, my wife, the doc, who is with child. Cheers to her. And just because she's been very supportive of this whole bit. And Stevie D, I imagine your home life is also supportive of you, of this endeavor, or at least you going to the game this weekend.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. I have my mother is coming down to look after my 7-year-old, so it's all good.
Wonderful. That's great.
Yeah.
So just we'll jump real quick into this here, co-host, just so people have a little bit more of background. What's kind of your Notre Dame story? I mean, like high level, and maybe we can kind of steer people back to the North Carolina show a little bit if they want the real full story. But give us the high level version of how someone from Ireland became not only a fan of this podcast but a Notre Dame football fan.
Yeah, I suppose the quick version is there's a friend of mine, Donal, who's actually on Twitter as well at Quan H, and he went to the game. I think it was '96 when Navy again played Notre Dame in Dublin. He knew nothing about Notre Dame football. A friend of his was going up because it was American football. So he went along, he really enjoyed it, and he kind of did a bit of research into Notre Dame and found the movie Rudy. So then he gave it to me to watch it, and then he gave me a delayed by a couple of years the USC Bush Push game.
Oh my gosh. How is that your first game you ever saw?
That was my first game, yeah, that I ever saw, yeah. So, and even though it was like delayed by a season or two, I can't really remember now exactly, to be honest, but
oh my God.
I was devastated at the end with how they lost. So ever since then, yeah, I became addicted to it, watching it every year. I went over in 2009 to a game I believe you were at against when they were playing UConn.
Yep, I was a student that year. Yep.
Yeah, so that was pretty depressing.
I'm sorry.
So that was
so the UConn game was your last game that you ever saw Notre Dame live in person.
No, I saw the 2012 Dublin game.
Oh.
So I was there for that as well. So hopefully, with any bit of luck, we'll have another undefeated season.
Oh my
starting
gosh.
in Dublin against Navy.
And I've purposely I'll spill the beans here. We purposely have done a deep dive into that game. That's the stat piece for this week because we haven't played any games. What sort of stats are we going to talk about with Navy? We have a stat piece about the Notre Dame Navy 2012 game. But yeah, if our season 2023 was this 11 years since that game, so it's been 11 years since you've seen a live game.
Yes, 11 years, yeah.
Can I do math? Yeah.
I know, I was thinking there, yeah.
Well, and I usually rely on a spreadsheet, but I have an internet up right now, so I can reference things. But no, okay, so it's been a little while for you since you've seen a Notre Dame game live, and your excuse is probably better than most. But the fact that you're a fan of Notre Dame football living in Ireland, I think, makes it a little extra special.
Okay, yeah. There is a reasonably good NFL following in Ireland. College football, not so much. I think the real deep diving football fan would have an interest in college football, but I'd say the Notre Dame following would be in the hundreds, if at most, probably. I could be wrong. It could
in
be
all of the Republic of Ireland, or that's just County Cork we're talking about.
I would say in all of the Republic of Ireland. I would say. I mean, I know of about 7 or 8 personally over Twitter, like from Ireland that I've met and spoken to about Notre Dame, and I'm sure there's more that I haven't, but I can't imagine it's very high numbers anyway.
Yeah. So you're clearly going to the game. Did you have to put a second mortgage on your home to get tickets and because you wanted to be right next to Marcus Freeman and Audric Estime to yell at them #RTDB? Or maybe I should like overnight express mail some Fighting Irish Faithful gear that you can like hand out to people. I don't know.
Yeah, that would be a good idea.
We gotta grow the show somehow. Our marketing clearly is lacking.
Not at all. I have so I have fairly standard tickets. I think they cost me was it €90 each?
90. Yep. That sounds about better than what I would have paid here in the States. So.
Yeah, absolutely, yeah.
I think out of shits and giggles, I think 1 or 2 nights ago, I was sitting here and I was doing some show prep. It was 2 nights ago because that's when I did my big stat piece, and I was like, out of curiosity, if money wasn't an issue, what's the most expensive ticket I could get? It was like $2,000. I don't know what that is in euro, but I was just like, oh my gosh. Like, and these were like 40-yard line, 5 rows up from the front, you know what I'm saying? Like Notre Dame sideline. But yeah, there is some serious money. I was contacted by multiple people like, hey, do you want tickets? And these are like travel agent people and former players. And, we won't have to go into all that. But I was just like like, look, unless someone else is paying the bill, there's no, like, let me put it this way. I was a huge proponent of Notre Dame versus BYU in Vegas last year, and I didn't go to that. It's like going over to Ireland. That's a huge, huge investment. I mean, at least I have my passport updated, so hooray. But but seriously, like, legit expense for people in the United States who are going. It's really great that you, a resident, a citizen of Ireland, is going over there. Now, but here's the thing: you don't live in Dublin. You're in County Cork or Cork?
Yeah, right down in West Cork, off the
West
coast.
Cork. Okay. So are you near the coast or?
Yeah. If it was daylight now, I can look out my window and see the ocean. Like, it's lovely. There's a lighthouse and all here.
Can you please take pictures and make me jealous on Twitter?
Sure.
Like, please do. Yeah, I'll tell my wife and be like, we should visit my friend in Ireland.
Yeah, there you go. Anytime.
I'm writing that down. Okay, anytime.
You have a verbal agreement.
Perfect. Oh, that's fantastic. So wait, are you gonna are you driving up in the morning? Or are you gonna do some sightseeing, or just you have friends or people that in Dublin, and you're gonna what's like, you don't have to get into all the details, but I'm living vicariously through you, and I think a lot of our fan base is as well, to have kind of your perspective.
Yeah. So like Dublin, unfortunately, is a ridiculously expensive city. It's probably one of the most expensive cities in the world for just eating and going for a few drinks or even accommodation. It's like super expensive. We're going up on, myself and my friend Donal, who introduced me to Notre Dame originally. We're going up on Friday morning, so we're staying in a hotel up there, and we're going to try and go to as much kind of, I don't know, pep rallies or just kind of game-related events as we can.
Yep.
And that's kind of our plan, really, is just to kind of soak up the atmosphere, and just kind of play it by ear, see what happens when we get up there.
Oh, that's awesome.
We've no real plan.
That's fantastic. But, like I lived in the United Kingdom for 6 months, and some of the times, like, we would just, like, we'd make a plan, be like, okay, we'll do some sightseeing at this city or this town, in Wales or Scotland or England or whatever. And a lot of it was about, we want to go there to soak in the history and the environment. But when we got there, we didn't have very specific plans. We kind of like let the city speak to us, if that makes sense. And a lot of the times that's how we found like some of the, like, these little gems, or you just talk to a local person who knows, and you say, hey, where's a good place for X, Y, and Z? And they'd be like, oh, you got to go, over here or whatever. And for us, that was always having that freedom. I mean, Grant, we didn't have children yet, but like having that freedom to be able to explore and wander and be flexible was really great. And that's kind of cool that you're going with a friend, someone someone who's a Notre Dame fan, and basically is kind of responsible for you getting into this state. Now your friend Donal here, he's not a co-host on the Fighting Irish Faithful show, so but maybe it's one of those things where like the learner has exceeded the master, right? I don't know.
Yeah, I'm not sure. Yeah, he would listen to, from what I can tell when we talk, he would listen to a lot more podcasts and things than I would about Notre Dame. He'd send me a lot of information, about recruits and things like that as well, whereas I tend to stay away from the recruiting, because I find that, you hear about a player coming and you get excited, and then they flip late on, and it's just gets annoying. So
it's like watching the Bush Push game right over again.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, so I prefer to wait, and when the player is actually on site, on campus, in his gear, then I'm happy enough at that.
I'm 100% with you there. I'm excited. Recruiting's important. We got to have, ideally, hey, we talk about stats of champions on this podcast. Top 5 recruiting class is on average what national champions over the last 10 years have done. So we should be excited. We should pay attention to it. But you're 100% correct when you say they could flip or this, that, and the other. There's so many variables that go into recruiting beyond just Notre Dame and being awesome. And, we're playing in Ireland, like Georgia and Alabama aren't playing in Ireland. And do you think they ever would? I'll just leave it out there. I honestly don't know the answer to that. So,
yeah. So, like last season we had Northwestern and Nebraska. That was a pretty cool game.
Well, I think I was just poking around and I saw something like Florida State's playing someone next year.
That's right. Yeah, I can't remember offhand who they're playing, but yeah, they're coming over next year. So.
Yeah. So I mean, for the people who don't, I mean, Florida State and Notre Dame have a little bit of a rival, as you know, but the so we won't give them too much credit on this show, but it is cool that college football is kind of like where the NFL is kind of like stuck to. The United Kingdom or London, whatnot, and then I think they play a game in Germany. Maybe I don't know.
That's right. I think they did.
Yeah, like college football has really not gone that route. We've stayed clearly in the United States, and then there's this game in Ireland. So I don't know if it's. I don't know why. Yeah, and I don't mean anything with this, but it's like how was Ireland picked as a college football location? Is that a Notre Dame thing? I really don't know. That Notre Dame has kind of been this connection to the wider world. So, well, hey Stevie, we've got someone on here, a friend of mine, Dom Richard. Dom at Dom Richard 88 on the Twitter. We've invited him to speak if he wants to jump on and chat with us and give his excitement over the game. If he's able to. If not, that's cool, and he's just listening because it's, he's probably putting children to bed or whatnot. But at Dom Richard, if you wish to join us, by all means, an invitation has been sent. Jump on and speak. So, well, Stevie, we've talked about your experience in going into this game and how you're, just kind of you get to finally see your Fighting Irish play in person, which is great, and it's a home game for you. We got like a 3-4 hour drive, whatever you got.
About 4, I think 3.5 to 4.
Funny story. I was talking to my brother at Red Snapper 9098 on Twitter, and I was like, hey, I wonder what's closer, Stevie D's Irish, his drive from where he lives roughly to Aviva Stadium, or my drive from my house up to Notre Dame Stadium. And I think yours is farther. Once you told me that you lived closer to the coast, and I was like, okay, yeah, you definitely win. But so hooray!
I prefer to be doing your drive, to be honest.
Oh yeah, is it really rough or just?
No, just I mean to get to drive to Notre Dame to South Bend, it's.
I see. Well, you're there's about 3 hours in between where there's a lot of corn and soybean fields.
Yeah, nothing too exciting. So.
No, I mean it's Central Indiana. I mean it is what it is, and I'm a little used to the drive just because when I was a grad student at Notre Dame. The doc, she was a grad student at Indiana University, and so we were actually 4 hours separated, by car, and so we would one of us would make the trip probably once a month ish, and so like we'd see each other roughly every 2 weeks, if that makes sense. And then we got engaged and married and the whole beast, so it was no big deal. But there was a couple years where it was very formative, and it's just like, hey, yeah, we did the long distance thing, and it was all good, and we're better for it. So, but what's funny is we do the drive now, and like the highway is better. There's some bypasses and all these other things. So, we think back to what it used to be, and it's like, man, that we were committed. Now it's like, oh, this is no problem with the drive. So,
yeah.
All right, well, let's get into more of this football game here. We don't want to just have too much into the higher details. We got Dom Richard listening on, and if anyone else wants to join us after we've been talking for about 20 minutes, no big deal. All right, so the big deal here with Navy, obviously, Kenya Matalolo was let go after number of years with the Naval Academy. And so now we have a new coach, Brian Newberry, who was the defensive coordinator of Navy ever since 2019, who has taken over as the head coach of the midshipmen, the middies. Stevie, what do you think? I mean, what can Notre Dame do to prepare for this game? Or is the whole world upside down with Navy, or are things not as far apart as we think they could be?
It's hard to call, isn't it? When a new coach coming in, I don't really know a whole lot about him, what his history is. I don't think they'll venture too far away from what they've been doing the last 10 years with Coach Ken, and a lot more beyond that. They have a very good running back, like in is it Valide or something? I can't think of his exact name.
Yep.
Valide or something like that. He looks very good. I think they'll depend on him a lot.
He'll probably be a Navy SEAL for all we know. I mean,
yeah, it's true. Like, yeah.
Yeah, I actually don't know how that works, but anyway.
Yeah. I think they'll depend an awful lot on the run. Whether they'll do triple option or not, hard to say. It's impossible to know. I'd be a lot more comfortable, I think, if they were going in with Coach Ken again rather than someone new. But you would hope that Notre Dame should have more than enough to give them a comfortable enough beating.
No, I'm with you 100%. I mean, those are kind of my similar feelings, where we've kind of been rocked to sleep with, like, you could put in a VHS tape from 1996 of Notre Dame versus Navy, and that's your game film to prepare for Kenya Matalolo and what you're going to get, at least from the offensive standpoint. But so at least, and I didn't go too far down the rabbit hole here, but yeah, Brian Newberry has been the DC. He was announced the head coach fairly quickly, I would say, after Coach Ken was let go. And Coach Ken was there for 15 years.
15 years, well.
Man, a long time. And personally, I thought kind of the way it happened was a little rough, and we've talked about that in previous shows. But a lot of things change, a lot of, and it should be no surprise that Navy wants to change as well, and I went back and did some research on, okay, like, was the firing of Coach Ken justified? And I didn't look so much at the trends of Navy per se. It's not like let me put it this way. If Navy had a really tough schedule and they had played some really, really good teams, some top 25 teams ranked in Sagarin, and their strength of schedule was really hard, this, that, and the other. Navy's had a strength of schedule of 63, which is about middle of the road. And they went like 4-8 last year. Okay, it was not good. And the only team that they played that finished in the top 25 of Sagarin was Notre Dame. And now, some credit to Navy, they only lost by 3 points to Notre Dame, right? But, they didn't end well, and they were kind of on the decline, and they lost both to Air Force and the Army at West Point. So the when you lose to the other two academies, that kind of jumps off the page. I guess if you're the whoever runs the Naval Academy, right? But But no, I mean they finished Sagarin ranked 74th, and it just wasn't the best for poor Navy. So when I looked more at the data, and they didn't play really anyone good. The only good team, quote unquote, they played was Notre Dame, and they lost. And they still finished with a 4-8 record. So like I wasn't like saying like, yes, fire Coach Ken, because that's never going to be my opinion, because I love the man.
Yeah, same here.
But at the same time, I'm like, well, I also, like, you've been there so long, like, you're getting stale. Do we need to modernize the program a little bit? I don't know. But
I mean, there was a time when I would have happily taken Coach Ken at Notre Dame, even at one stage when Brian Kelly was at his lowest with us. But yeah, I think they were right to change it. I think it had probably gotten a bit stale. You never want to see a coach get fired, like, especially when he's in charge of an academy like Navy with the history and everything. But they were probably justified to make a change there, I think.
No, I agree 100%. And what's funny is you mentioned that the Brian Kelly thing, when we were going through the 2016, 2017, wailing and gnashing of teeth, when I did an analysis understanding, okay, who could Notre Dame potentially replace Brian Kelly with, and we won't spend too much time on this, but what it was is your overall win record and ranking in Sagarin versus your talent that you have available to you. Okay. Yeah. So who is the coach that is doing the most with the least? And the number one coach on that list, Grant, this is really old. This is like 2017, 2018, time frame data, but it still is in the spreadsheet for this exact reason. Coach Ken was number one on the list by far. Number two was actually Brian Harsin at Boise State.
Oh, okay, yeah, I liked him too, actually. He was really good.
Now, unfortunately, both of them don't coach at their respective programs anymore. But, hey, it is what it is. So,
what are you going to do?
Yeah. Well, we've got Adam Dowling here who's listening. Nope, false. There he goes. Bye, Adam Dowling. He was listening. We were going to bring Adam on, but he'll probably jump on later. He's a pretty savvy guy. So Navy will... here's the thing, Stevie. Do you think you're going to see triple option from Navy?
I don't think exclusively. I think they will do some triple option, but I think they're going to mix it up big time. And I think I don't know a whole lot about Navy really, bar what they've been doing the last 15 plus years. But I think they'll mix it up a lot more, particularly because it's the first game. They'll have had time to prepare different things and see how it goes. And it's an easy shot for them. They're not expected to do a whole lot against us. Notre Dame would be probably, I would imagine they're probably 20-point favorites, are they? I wouldn't be too sure on the betting.
That's a good question. I actually did not look at what the spread is on this game, and part of that I think is twofold. Number one, just A, lack of preparation, but B, I made a decision last year to not really look at any of the preseason polls for the first 3 games. So once we're a quarter of the way in the season, and some of the imposters have been ruled out, and some of the wow, look at that team. Those guys have been able to jump into the picture. That's when I started paying attention to that kind of thing. Now, it's the first game of the season, right? We have to start somewhere to compare Notre Dame to another team. So, okay, fine. But I pull up Sagarin only because I like Sagarin and because it's math based, right?
Yeah.
Now, what I will say, what's interesting is how, though Navy has a new coach and they have a new OC and stuff, there are a couple of things, 2 things that jumped off the page here that are still common and similar. Number one, their head coach, right? He was their DC. Okay, Brian Newberry has been their DC and has been at Navy since 2019. So if you were a player at Navy, a cadet, right, recommended by your senator, congressman, or however that works, right? You're used to seeing this guy at practice. Okay, number one, especially if on the defensive side. Number two, though your offensive coordinator is new, which we'll come back to, the current quarterback coach, Ivan Jasper. Do you know who he used to be? He was the former offensive coordinator, and he is now still, quote unquote, the quarterback's coach. So Ivan Jasper has remained on staff, which I thought was very, very interesting reading that today, that he was not let go. Now, I don't know if that's an interim thing or a permanent thing, but when I saw that, and don't get me wrong, like Ivan Jasper had been the quarterback coach at Navy, even when Kenya Matalolo was there, but simultaneously, he was responsible for Keenan Reynolds and some of these other, very well-known, very good Navy quarterbacks. Yeah. So when I saw that, I was like, okay, now is Navy really gonna deviate from the script of triple option? And part of me thinks not necessarily because they're still very undersized compared to pretty much everyone they play, other than maybe Army and Air Force.
That's a good point, actually. Yeah.
So
that's true.
I'm not so sure about that. But what is interesting is their new OC, Grant Chestnut. He was hired in, and he was the former offensive coordinator at Kennesaw State. Now, yes, that's an FCS school, but their style is a spread option. So the only thing that I think that could result in is Navy will be passing the ball just a little bit more than what they used to.
Yeah, I think they definitely will try that a bit more.
Yeah. Well, I see Mr. Dom Richard here, eager to jump on. He's muted. Dominic, if you wish to jump on, hit the pink button and join us. Join in the conversation of Notre Dame versus Navy and speak to our co-host live from Ireland.
Hey, how's it going, everybody?
Hey, Dom.
Hey, I just wanted to jump on real quick and just say I'm super pumped for the first game of the year. It's always seems like it's kind of a mystery going in on how we're going to come out and play first game, and if there was some too much hype or not enough hype, or just excited to see him out on the field and playing.
Yeah, that's kind of my vibe as well, Dominic. The fact that you've got more, I mean, like, let me ask this question, Dominic. Did the season come up on you really quick?
Yes, absolutely. I don't know if that's just a product of getting a little bit older and having kids, or if it's
That's August when we're playing football. I don't know.
Yeah. So.
Yeah, I think that the Notre Dame Navy game is actually the first college football game, period. I did this quick research this morning, and I think our game's at 2:30 Eastern time in the U.S., and then the next one after that is some FCF schooler, who knows who, at 3:30.
Nice. Yeah, I have a wedding to go to on Saturday, so hopefully I'll get to see most of the game, and I won't be too nervous walking away from the TV in a close one. Hopefully we'll have it well under control by then.
Oh my goodness. So wait, you are going to a wedding. Who the hell schedules a wedding?
Person.
Hey, I don't know. I'm not going to say that I did it once, but...
Wait, you did that?
Yep, I did do it. I had my wedding on... during a Notre Dame game.
What?
My dad was very disappointed in me.
I like your dad even more than I already had before. I'm going to harass you every single time. This is Dom Richard, who schedules his own wedding during Notre Dame games. What game was that, out of curiosity, if I may ask?
Oh,
you know. Come on. Okay, well, when was your wedding? Come on.
I think it was a USC game.
Wait, what? Oh, no, I almost spit out my whiskey. What?
You heard me.
What year?
2019.
What the hell?
Would have been. Yep.
Oh my god.
Would have been October 11th. So I guess we could look it up if we really wanted to know. But
no, we know. Oh my
At least you say that, you can say on your wedding day we beat USC, so that's always a nice thing to say.
Look at Stevie D. Irish, bringing the positive here. I appreciate that. Oh, that's brilliant. Well, Dominic, don't worry, we won't harass you too much, and that also shows your commitment to the missus there and to your children there. So fantastic. What's your thought, Dominic, about this game, or you just want to scream, go Irish, and away we go?
I'm looking forward to watching the defense. I know Sam Hartman's getting quite a bit of hype, but I think he's going to be. He's got enough experience under his belt that I think he's just going to be a good player, and I'm not super worried about him, to be honest.
That isn't that a great feeling to have? We're not worried about the Notre Dame quarterback, you know.
Yeah, it's actually my first time ever watching Notre Dame where I don't have real worries about the quarterback as long as I'm watching it. Like, you know, you can never, like, Jimmy Clausen was brilliant, but I'm a big fan of his, like you are. But after him, you were never there saying like we have an absolute elite quarterback. No,
that's the thing. Yeah, like this is a blue chip quarterback, right? Jimmy Clausen arguably was the last one. You know, there were other guys that showed sparks. Anyone from Wimbush to Kaiser to even Ian Book.
Yeah.
You know, like hell, even Dane Chris. Dane Chris was a highly rated recruit coming in. You know, Gunnar Keel. You know, these are like 4 or 5 star quarterbacks. You know, really highly rated coming out of high school. And I mean, Dane Chris. Let's not talk about him. You know, so let's change the subject real quick. Dominic, Richard, do you have a score prediction for us?
Oh, it's kind of hard to tell. I don't know. No, I'm not going to predict. Probably low scoring, knowing Navy, but you know.
All right. So maybe Notre Dame still has a little rust, or
yeah, maybe. I'm curious to see how on page these young receivers are with Hartman, and I'm sure Hartman's going to be able to get them the ball, but see if the route running's good and they're at the right place at the right time.
It's my hope that what we saw in the spring game with Sam Hartman being able to command the offense, lead his receivers, and put the ball exactly where it's supposed to, that through summer workouts, fall camp, and even, you know, practice, wherever the hell they practice in Ireland, that he is able to be a leader on the field with his arm, and you know, give out touchdowns just as much as he's able to give out Beats headphones. Okay, and that's not a slight against him. Anyone who saw that on social media, you know, that was a thing he did, which is cool. You know, I wouldn't say no, but at the same time, I think this is a guy who. We talked about this 2 shows ago about transcendent quarterback play and how that can be essential, transformative to your football program, gain momentum not only for this season but future seasons. But this guy has the ability to, I think, take us there, and I'm really pumped. Whether he's able to do it right off the bat in Ireland, we'll find out. I don't know.
Yeah, I hope so.
One can hope.
Yeah. Once the offensive line is able to protect him enough and give him enough time, I think he'll be amazing. That's the only slight concern I have there, is that whether they can actually, you know, they should be able to manage Navy, obviously. They should be able to give him the time, but that line against bigger teams, will they have enough, I wonder?
Yeah, no doubt. All right, Dominic, well, I feel like you're backing up into a tree or something there, so we'll let you head out. Thank you for joining the Fighting Irish Faithful show.
Alrighty.
All right, thank you, Dom, Richard. Go Irish, beat Navy. All right. And let's see here. Adam Dowling, are you with us?
Hello, how are you guys?
Hey, we're finally getting you on the show, because we're not podcasting at 11 p.m., right?
Yeah, I had some early mornings, and obviously it's it gets a little late sometimes.
I understand. Yeah, that's we're trying to weigh out the find a balance here with a toddler in the house, a pregnant wife, and someone who's got to go into the office on Wednesday. In addition to keeping the show live, active, and exciting. But we got our special co-host, Stevie D. Irish from the Republic of Ireland. So we can officially say that we are live from Ireland tonight.
Oh, great. I wish we were all there. I kind of wish I would have went now. We decided not to go, but it's now we're like kind of mad at ourselves for not going.
That's okay. I mean, you You made us jealous by going to Turks and Caicos, calling in from your hotel room balcony for the pre-BYU game show, and then you were in Vegas for the BYU game. So, that's okay, If
you win that.
if you went to Ireland too, then we'd be like, we need to really rethink our life.
Oh man.
No.
We actually didn't go. We actually didn't go because we're gonna go back to Turks and Caicos the week of the Louisville game. So
Okay.
it's gonna be a road game we picked. Normally we pick a bye week to go, but she talked me into going on a road. When it's a road game.
Okay. Well, and then like you guys have similar birthdays. It's your anniversary or something like that, right?
Yeah, it's our anniversary. So we are the people that got married during the season too.
What the hell?
And
Is that what this show should be called?
Only reason I did that though is because I didn't want to be sweating my what off during the wedding. But we got married on.
Get married in the church.
So.
It's air conditioned. There's no problem with that, right?
Nope. But we're set up for the bye week, so. We got married on October the 10th, which is usually always the bye week before USC or Stanford.
Okay.
So I made sure it was a bye week game.
All right, fair enough. Adam Dowling has one up on Dom Richard. Did not get married during the USC week, but got married during a bye week. So, all right, 1 point for Adam.
It's funny.
Adam, what?
So what do you guys think? Are you excited? I mean, this year almost seems like to me like it's almost like it couldn't come soon enough because it's almost like I want to redo from last year.
I don't really. There's a lot to unpack there. I don't want to quote unquote undo last year just because like I'm one of those psycho people that think like, well, everything happens for a reason, and it's like, but then at the same time, I'm like, like you need some growing pains, or Marcus Freeman needs to have some more adversity before he can taste success, or, maybe it's just, the Catholic tradition of suffering through adversity, or, I don't know, like it's the whole piece of like, I certainly don't want to erase last year, but, and I know that's not what you're saying. But what I will say is we finished the end of the year winning our bowl game, which always feels flippin-tastic. Finishing the season on a high note, you're ready to play the game, the next game right away. Like I was ready to play Navy like months ago. And now it's finally coming, like 4 days from now. Well, 3 days if you're Stevie in Ireland, but and really 2 days given your drive up there on Friday. But seriously, the like it couldn't come soon enough. But it's like, holy shit, it's actually happening right now. And it's August, not Red Snapper's birthday, but my eldest brother, who probably won't ever be on the show, but my eldest brother, we should come up with something clever for him. It's his birthday on Saturday. And it's like, I've never seen Notre Dame play this early, which is fantastic. It was just like, so I like, for me, it's like a weird place because it's like, man, the game is really early and I have no problem with that. Cause it's like, wow, like, yeah, like you said, Adam, let's get on, let's kick off football season. Let's get this started. But it like, for me, it's like there's stupid humidity outside right now, here in central Indiana. I don't know. It's like up there with you next to, Lake Michigan and closer to Chicago up there. But
it hasn't really been hot all summer for us, and now these next 2 days are going to be like record heat.
They're going to be terrible. So maybe it's a good thing that Notre Dame's playing in Ireland. Like Stevie, I don't know what's the weather forecast in Ireland typically this time of the year.
Usually in August it'll be quite good. We've had the worst month's rain in a long time this month, but it's meant to be quite nice at the weekend, kind of clear and 20 degrees Celsius. So I don't know what that is in Fahrenheit, but
that's okay. We can live, with those. That's fine. For our international listeners of the show, they'll be like, "Oh, 20 degrees Celsius, of course," and everyone in the United States will just be like,
70 something, right?
Pull out an app on your phone, figure it out. Okay, you guys do the math. I'm not going to pull it up on a spreadsheet, right? You guys can figure that shit out.
But I think maybe I wouldn't feel as bad about last season if the SC game didn't go the way it went.
Mm.
And
yeah, I would agree with that. I think so too.
And it's just,
even though that was Drew Pine's best game, you know that, right?
Yeah, but a couple turnovers hurt though in that game too.
Yeah, and not being able to tackle and not being able to stop on defense. But continue, Adam.
Or maybe just getting like 5 holding calls might have helped too. But
right?
we're not going to go there. We're not going to go there.
We're not bitter.
No, well, it's our rival. I mean, USC's our rival, and we want to. We hate them.
We had to expect some growing pains. This is the first time Marcus Freeman has been a head coach at any level. At any level, it's the first time he's been a head coach. So
Agreed.
He was going to have to learn a little bit on the job and what he needs to do. So after last season,
had to fire Reese. Oh wait, no, he just left. But
yeah, and that might have been a little issue. I mean, I got no proof, but I have a feeling there might have been a little issue.
Trust me.
I think there might have been a little issue there that somebody thought maybe they should have been the head coach. So I'm kind of glad he's moved on.
No way.
Yeah.
But
it also seemed like Freeman never really got a choice. It was like Tommy Reese is your offensive coordinator, and that's it. Like he probably had no say in that at all, by the sounds of it.
Yeah.
I mean, and I appreciate Marcus Freeman. I think holding on to some of the coaches if he could for some sense of continuity or stability or what have you. I mean, a number of coaches stayed on, and Reese was one of those pieces, and now like everyone who was ever under Kelly is gone. I mean, I don't count like Ron Paulus or some of these other kind of administrative type of people, but like if you just go down the list of all the coaches on the coaching staff, I'm pretty sure every single one of them is new. Either this year or was new last year, right? Heastand's no longer there. Reese is no longer there. I mean, shit, our strength of conditioning coach isn't there. And that's kind of probably more of a personal issue. I don't think anyone has an issue with him because, let's face it, Bayless was brought in after the 2016 debacle, right? Okay. But regardless, the, I kind of think if that's more of a function of, like, I won't name my source here, but I heard from someone I trust who has very good connections, who said that Marcus Freeman is a very demanding individual. And when I heard that, I was like, that's fantastic. Like, who does not want a passive coach? Who wants a coach that's just kind of gonna just que sera, or just kind of tiptoe through the tulips? Absolutely not. I want some guy out there who's got a little bit of a screw loose, who maybe is just gonna be, get nuts and whatever, and have very high expectations and very high standards. Sounds like this podcast. My point is...
I mean...
Oh, go ahead, Adam.
Oh, no, go ahead, finish.
Well, I was just gonna say, the fact that we have had changes in the coaching staff, the fact that Gino Guidugli is now the quarterback coach, who I've said for 2 years that maybe we should break Reese away from his quarterback coaching responsibilities and just keep him the OC and bring in a quarterback coach. I don't know, but now that's actually happened. So either Marcus Freeman listens to this podcast secretly, who knows, or he's just waking up, smelled the coffee because he's an intelligent individual, and he says, look, I need my quarterback coach to work through footwork drills and do these other things, and I need my OC to be the mastermind puppet master of making our offense successful. I don't know. I mean, shit, Navy has 2 different coaches for the same. You know what I'm saying? Like,
yeah.
Ivan Jasper is the OC. Grant Chestnut is their OC, right? Excuse me. Ivan Jasper is a quarterback coach, right? He's the former OC. I mean, Navy's doing it right. Notre Dame should do that. No problem.
Yeah, I've seen people do it both ways and have been successful doing it both ways. But I've heard the same thing about Marcus. and that's good to hear, because I think he kind of has a reputation of being like kind of like the nice guy, players coach, and to hear from some people that no, he's really, you don't want to cross him. I like that. I like hearing that.
When it's one of those things where it's like, like when the camera's on him and social media, and I always thought that Notre Dame did a really good job of, I don't want to say propaganda, but painting people in the a positive light. And then when you really get down to brass tacks and you're in the program and you're in, the meetings and you're at practice when the cameras are off, and it's like, look, sometimes you need someone to scream at you. Okay. And I imagine that Marcus Freeman has lost his shit. And it's kind of my hope that he has. Now, I don't mean like derogatory and you need to like be abusive and rude and some of these other things, right? I'm not saying that. But you need someone that demands excellence. Like we know darn well that Lou Holtz had very high expectations. And he would threaten to throw players out of practice if they, mucked up an assignment. Okay, yeah. Does that make Coach Holtz a bad person? Does that make him a bad coach? Does that make him does that make us like him any more than we already do? Of course not. It's his job to be the head coach at the University of Notre Dame and to deliver success and wins and excellence. That's what he's being paid to do. Okay, but above and beyond that, you're not coaching at Houston or Purdue or whatever, okay? You're coaching at Notre Dame.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, it sounds everything out of camp sounds great. The only thing is, I feel like it sounds like we have a ton of potential, and we only have a few spots that are proven, like offensive tackle, quarterback,
running back,
estimate,
running back.
Yep. And then I feel like the linebackers, even though they're seniors, you kind of hear it both ways from our fan base. Some people say they're great. Some people think they're terrible.
I have no choice, and we did this last week on the podcast. If anyone missed it, go back. We did a breakdown of who was returning, who contributed last year, and what is still in the cupboard, right? And then we kind of looked at the recruits and did some other analytics. But there were a couple things that stood out to me. Number one was the linebackers. And just kind of the guys in the middle there of the defense, is they had tons and tons of not only experience, but they were the leaders in tackling last year. And these same guys are returning this year. So I see that as a positive. People want to talk crap about Bertrand or whatever, and, people are entitled to their opinions. I'm just saying, look at the data. The data suggests otherwise. This is the guy who accumulated the most tackles last year, which means he's all over the fucking field. And remember the fact that also he got kicked out at least twice last year for targeting.
Yeah, he missed
he missed half of BYU and he missed the other half of the UNC game. So the
Navy too, he missed. He didn't play Navy last year.
He's been all over the place, and my thought is that other than maybe he needs to be more mindful of his fundamentals and his pad level or whatever. This is a guy who's at least, quote unquote, selling out for football glory, if I may go out there. Now, he's not Manti Te'o and he's not, Tommy Zibikowski or whatever. But were we saying that shit about, those guys in their junior year? I don't know. Probably not. But look, we don't know how Bertrand's going to be this year. And so the fact that he's still there and the fact that he's contributed so much, I take that as a positive. I don't see that as a negative, right? What I take as a negative is our D line, looks a little sparse, with Amiolas and Foskey being gone, right? That's an invitation for anyone to break into. Okay. O-line, I think, will be fine. I don't have too many worries. But running backs, Stevie D. Irish is going to see them in person. Are you excited to see Estime?
Is that for me?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, he's I think he's a special talent. I think he's gonna have an unbelievable season. I've great confidence in what he's going to do this year.
I'm really excited. I mean, he had the most rushing touchdowns last year, and this is kind of a little recap of last week, but he had the most rushing touchdowns of the team. He's returning, and then we got Price, who's coming in. We've made the decision on the offense to move Tyree from running back out to receiver. You know, whether he's going to be a X receiver, a slot receiver, or whatever, who knows? You know, I think the opportunities are there, and whether or not, you know, we go undefeated or some of these other, you know, high aspirations that we all want, you know, we don't have to do too much crystal balling today, but what we can do is look at this game versus Navy and say, look, do we really think that we're going to struggle against Navy? Or the better question is, should we struggle against Navy?
We shouldn't, but I'm 40, and I've seen multiple times in my life this Navy game go down to the wire. We've lost a couple times. Usually when we're good, we blow them out.
Yep.
But I always hate the game because it just feels like a lose-lose. If you lose, if it's close, you know, you're no good. If you blow them out, you should have blew them out.
Exactly.
Well, and I don't disagree with that, but you know, like, to me, that's no different from, you know, Alabama playing, you know, North Carolina A&T or whoever. You know what I'm saying? Like you're 100% right. Notre Dame should blow out Navy. You know, if you just look at recruiting data, look at who has generated, well, not generated, but who the recruiting talent. Notre Dame over the last 4 years ranks on average 11.5. Navy over the last 4 years ranks 125th. Notre Dame is an order of magnitude better than Navy. Okay. So you're 100% right, Adam, when you say like we should not struggle, right? Now, maybe that's a function of the coaching and some of these other things. But what I will say is, in my opinion, the last time I ever saw Notre Dame truly dominate Navy was in 2012. You know, 50-10 victory. And we'll go through those stats in a minute here. But if we have some game like that, where we have a scoring margin of 40, Adam, do you know what national champions, what their scoring margin is over the last 10 years? On average, how many points does the national champion beat their opponent by?
On average. Can I get like 24 or up or higher?
It is higher. It is 27.2. Very good.
Okay. Well, because you're talking about on average. So the best teams will beat teams 50 to, you know, they'll beat a bunch of teams, you know,
50-10, like Notre Dame did in 2012.
Yeah. They'll beat like 4 teams like that, you know, like LSU did in 19. They'd score.
Yeah.
I think we did beat Navy real good in like 18. Maybe it was 19. I think it was 19.
I actually have this. If you just give me a second here. Yeah, we beat them. We beat Navy by 32 points, 52-20 in 2019.
Yeah, I remember that.
I'd be okay with that.
Yep.
Yeah, no problem.
And I think it might be a lower scoring game because we're going to run the ball. They're going to run the ball. The clock moves on first downs now.
Yes.
So I think it might be a little lower scoring than we're maybe might expect.
Yeah, I'm very curious to see how that plays into the game going forward, whether or not the running clock is going to really drive things. It clearly will eliminate the number of plays that will happen. My opinion was more like, you know, do they really need to do that, or should they have just cut down on replay time or the number of commercials or some of these other things? I
kind of like the clock moving on first downs because that's the only level of football that would stop the clock on first downs. Like every other level of football, it runs. And sometimes I feel like an NFL game has a little more like rhythm to it. Like it feels like, oh, it's halftime already. Like it goes kind of quick. You know, it just feels like it has a little more flow.
I understand. Yeah, well, I think that we'll have to see how if things quote unquote feel different, as we're watching these games. But yeah, I don't know. We'll find out as time goes on.
I guess we'll see. It's kind of exciting time. It finally really feels like a real new era. I feel like last year was kind of like half new, half not.
I agree with that.
So it's kind of, I don't know. I'm just excited to see everything, and hopefully just take care of business and don't stress me out. And let's go Irish. And I'll get off now and let you move on to someone else. I'm gonna cook dinner for the wife here.
No problem. All right. I did the same earlier before the show. All right. At Adam_Dowling1 on the Twitter. We're still waiting for Mrs. Dowling to jump on, but that'll happen one of these days. I guarantee it.
We're all waiting.
I think so. Well, Stevie, with we really haven't had a chance to talk about what your thoughts are about Sam Hartman. Like, do you think that he has the ability to bring transcendent play to Notre Dame in 2023?
I do. I feel like he's the first quarterback go. Just, I was looking at some of his highlights over the last couple of seasons, and I think with the fact that he'll have better players around him, or in theory better players around him anyway, I think that he will do a lot better. I think we will score a lot more in general. I think because of the fact that he's so good with his hands that it'll open up the running game a good bit more as well.
Are you saying like use the pass to expand the run?
Yeah, absolutely. I think that will be a big thing for us this season, and I think that other teams are going to be afraid of him a lot more than they have been afraid of any of our quarterbacks for as long as I can remember, really.
Yeah, no doubt about that. No doubt.
Yeah. So hopefully he doesn't get, he has a good season, and he doesn't get what feels like a quarterback curse at Notre Dame the last while. So, yeah, but I think it'll be good. I'm very hopeful and confident in the offense in general. I think it's going to be pretty good. I'm a lot less confident in our defense. Last season in first year coordinator back, it wasn't brilliant. Particularly, no. I think was it your stat? I think you said last week that like they were nearly bottom in red zone defense, or fairly close.
We were
anyway.
Absolutely atrocious in red zone defense. I got the exact numbers if we really want to squeeze lemon juice into this paper cut here. Yeah. No, it was really bad. We were ranked 130th in red zone scoring defense and 131st in red zone touchdown scoring. It was so bad last year. It was the worst it's ever been by far. The next worst, let's see here, was probably somewhere between, let's see, Brian Van Gorder, 2013, Bob Biacco. It was not good last year. Like, if we're going and comparing ourselves to Van Gorder, well, was it worse to Van Gorder? Trust me, it's bad.
Yeah. And that's a real concern. I mean, how is that going to improve enough to be serious contenders, to be getting into a playoff place when it was so bad last season? It's a real worry, I think. And it doesn't seem to be talked about enough that it was so bad. Like, you wonder where it's going to get better this season.
Yeah. Do you think, here's kind of my thought about this game. Like, are you happy that this game is at the beginning of the season, or would you prefer it to be somewhere in the middle? I'm curious what your thoughts are on this.
No, I think it's good to have. I mean, I think it's good to have it at the start of the season. Are you talking about the fact of coming to Ireland, or just playing Navy in general?
Either.
Yeah. No, I think the first game of the season is probably the best one. It'd be better potentially if there was a bye week next week after it. Uh,
Yeah,
just because it always seems
the
to
airline
to
travel
take
and all
out.
that. Yep.
Yeah, and playing Navy always seems to take it out of the players anyway. They're, it's always a worry about injuries and things more so than there is against other teams for whatever reason. But no, I have no problem with it being the first game. I think it's good. I think it should be a game where Notre Dame go out there, do the business. It should be uneventful, and they should be winning by 30 plus points. Like and again, it's hard to gauge when it's the first game of the season in some ways, but with cobwebs and whatever you want to call it. But no, they should be comfortably winning on Saturday, and it's more of a see where they stand defensively, see where they stand offensively, and work on any kinks that they see.
I agree with you. I personally think that having like I'm a data oriented individual, as people know, and if you don't know, hello, welcome to the Fighting Irish Faithful, powered by Scotch and Spreadsheets. Although tonight we're not doing Scotch because we're live in Ireland. At least my co-host is. We actually went with Irish whiskey tonight on the podcast.
Nice. What have you got?
We did Redbreast.
Oh, I saw the picture earlier on Middleton. Yeah, that's actually a Cork whiskey even.
Is it really from Cork? I didn't read it. Like here's the thing. I've heard of it, known about it, and I hadn't actually bought it because it's a little on the high side, if I say. I've had, I think, Green Spot before, of course, Jameson and Bushmills and Michael Collins. There was a couple others that I hadn't seen, but then this one had caught my eye, and I was like, I've heard a lot of good things about this, and I haven't had it, and it's on the higher side, and this is a special moment, special game. It's the beginning of the season, and just like Notre Dame, so we're having Irish whiskey tonight, so hopefully that doesn't muck up the rest of the season. Most likely it will not, because how can this podcast interrupt what actually happens on the field, right?
Yeah.
Although you guys don't call it field over there, you call it what, the pitch?
The pitch, yeah. Playing in football.
Why is it called pitch? Can I ask? Like, I genuinely am not saying this to be condescending. I genuinely don't understand. Please educate me. Why is it called pitch?
I think I would imagine it's probably something that goes back to British times, colonialism or whatever over here. It's a British thing, and we've just carried it on, I suppose. We all just.
Yeah, but you guys use the euro over there. You don't use the Great British Pound, so
we do not. No, we are as far away from Britain as we can while being a neighbour.
That's right. Yeah, I mean, respect to our neighbors, right? It's like I was at a family reunion a couple weeks ago, and a lot of my relatives are actually from Canada. So I mean, and it's probably. It's not even remotely close to the historical history. I'll just put it that way to be more polite about it. Between United States and Canada versus Ireland and England. But regardless, we don't have to make things awkward. I was talking about a lot of my Canadian relatives, and it's like, there's there's things you do talk and things you don't talk about, and it's like, and not to be uncomfortable about it, it's like, look, we're here to enjoy, we're here to remind ourselves of what is good about our union and things of that nature, and the fact that we're family, and though we live in different countries, and you can put all that garbage aside. Yeah, it was a good trip. Happy I went. But there's always a little bit of that's always a little bit in the background that, every now and then you get a little bit of jobs. Now, I will say this. I was telling the doc this yesterday. So I have a toddler, right?
Yeah.
And we got a new baby on the way in the womb. But the toddler, if we ever need to hit the emergency brake, whatever, we throw Paw Patrol out on the streaming or whatever on the show on the television.
Yeah.
And Paw Patrol was actually created in Canada. And so I'm going to this reunion. I'm like, oh, telling my Canadian relatives, like, one of the best things here that comes out of Canada recently is Paw Patrol. And they're like, what's that? I'm like, who
No
are
way.
you? You clearly don't understand the greatness that has come out of your own country.
It's funny. It's a weird thing to be talking about, but in Ireland and England, when you listen to Paw Patrol, it's totally different voice actors. They've got kind of more British accents than the Canadian. I couldn't believe when I heard it. But how do you find the Redbreast?
It's really smooth. What's interesting is unlike other Irish whiskeys I've had, this one actually has like a little bit more of a, I don't want to say a bite, but a little bit more of a character, like I would expect out of a Scotch. And I have not, really, I mean, clearly if I had tasted the notes of this one, more sober versus a Scotch and had a proper whiskey tasting, we'll probably do that later in the week, but this was more just like, let's get amped up for the podcast and let's get a good whiskey, and this is where we're at. No, it's fantastic. I wish if I could name one of my Twitter followers that have had it, and if anyone's listening, please, if you had tweeted multiple things about Redbreast, I think it's my Twitter follower who's got the dopest garage with multiple cats and a shuffleboard and a whiskey and golf simulator. Whoever you are, Twitter follower, I'm so sorry, I'm forgetting who you are. Please at me, make fun of me. That's fine. I take full responsibilities. My lack of memory. But no, it's absolutely fantastic. Absolutely loving it. We're gonna have to savor this one because this was it was not cheap. And we want to enjoy this. So I've found that I've started collecting bottles of whiskey. There's a few that I've, anything from bourbon to Scotch to now this one, that we just don't drink. Like, I do know I have a bottle of Maker's Mark single proof barrel or single barrel batch, right? Like cast strength, that we have never opened. We have 2 bottles from Isla from Lafroig that both me and the doc hand, I don't know how you would describe this, but hand drew out of the cask itself into our own bottles. Those have never been opened. And that'll be like a 50th wedding anniversary type of situation, right? So there's a couple that are very special, and not that we're making a big deal about this, but we recognize that the time and effort and a fine quality spirit that it does. So okay, enough about whiskey. Should we do the stat piece, Stevie?
Yeah.
All right, let's move on here. So the stat piece. All right, what are we going to talk about? Right. Okay. Look, Notre Dame's playing Navy. First game of the year we have never played. They've got new coaches. We've got some new coaches. They've got a lot more new coaches. But the last time Notre Dame played Navy was, of course, in Ireland. Well, last time they played in Ireland was against Navy, right? 2012. And recently I have actually found, if you just type in Notre Dame versus Navy on YouTube from 2012, you can actually find the full game, which I started watching, which is fantastic. Now, why was that game so awesome? Well, back in 2012, your host was clearly not podcasting, and he was not as quote-unquote educated or informative as he is now. However, I took the stats, the post-game stats, right? Score, the total plays run, rushing yards, etc. And I broke that down to look for some kernels, some nuggets, and what can jump off the page. And first thing is, of course, the score, 50-10. I mean, Notre Dame wins by 40 points. National champions over the last 10 years win on average by 27. So we were feeling really good going into the Purdue game. Unfortunately, we barely beat Purdue by a field goal. But regardless, let's not be negative here. Okay. Maybe if we have a little bit of a letdown versus Tennessee State, we'll know, right? Okay. Passing plays, Notre Dame had more. Truth or lie, Stevie? Run percentage. Who ran the ball more, Notre Dame or Navy?
I would say that game Notre Dame did.
Okay, one would think, at least from a percentage standpoint, they are tied. Both teams ran 2/3 of the time, 66.7% of the time. Is absolutely fantastic. Hashtag RTDB. Notre Dame running 66% of the time, the same as Navy. Now, but Notre Dame was more effective, running 293 yards versus Navy's 149. Which, if we scroll down to rushing attempts per touchdown, Notre Dame had 9 rushing attempts for every rushing touchdown they scored. Now, Navy had 0 rushing touchdowns, but Navy had 1 passing touchdown. Notre Dame had also 1 passing touchdown. So actually, Navy had a better passing attempts per touchdown ratio than Notre Dame. Navy 20-1, Notre Dame 23-1. Granted, that was Everett Golson's first game.
Yeah.
Now, yards per carry. Who do you think was better, Notre Dame or Navy?
That has to be Notre Dame.
Absolutely. 100% correct. Notre Dame 6.4 yards, Navy's 3.7 yards. Now, passing yards is very, very close. Notre Dame barely edges out by 5 yards, 197 to 192. Total yards, no contest. Notre Dame 490 over Navy's 341. Now, what's interesting is something I started looking up last year, which was scoring drives. How efficient are we on our offense, right? And Notre Dame was successful scoring the ball 7 out of 10 of their drives. 70% of all their drives put points on the board. That is absolutely fantastic. Navy, 17% is really bad. Navy was 0-4 in their first 4 possessions, in their first, times on offense. That 4th possession, do you know what happened in that 4th possession? It's probably the highlight of the game.
Was that the turnover for Tuit?
Yes, it is.
No.
Absolutely. Brilliant. 100% correct. 4th possession is the scoop and score, 77 yards by Stephon Tuitt. And if you don't know what we're talking about, trust me, it's oh man, my heart was singing watching that. And in addition to Notre Dame just being successful on 70% of their scoring drives, they were successful and they scored touchdowns. I will repeat that. Notre Dame scored touchdowns in the first 3 drives they had in that game, which is fantastic. And I see at IrishJTL on the Twitter listening in. We've invited you to speak. If you want to jump in, just jump right in, man. But yeah, if we just, rushing attempts per touchdown, Notre Dame averaged rushing attempts, 9.2 attempts for every touchdown. National champions are about 16. So very good. Navy had 0, as we'd already say. So the passing wasn't sexy. It wasn't fantastic. But look, we finished at halftime up 27-3. Okay. And we scored we did not take our foot off the gas, unless you count 10 points in the 4th quarter as taking your foot off the gas. But 13, 14, 13, 10. Okay. Pretty even. Okay. Slight drop off in there. Navy 0 in the 1st quarter, 3 in the 2nd, 7 in the 3rd quarter, and 0 in the 4th. Okay, so clearly much better for Notre Dame. Navy also had 4 turnovers, very, very uncharacteristic of Navy, right?
Yeah.
I cannot, you think disciplined team, and we have interceptions, we have fumbles, we have scoop and scores, right? And Notre Dame only had one turnover, so. you go through the stats and you look at this game, and I remember watching that game, and it was on in the morning here in the States, and just be like, who is this team? This is fantastic. Like, they look, and I don't know if it was the sweet, Irish flag on the cleats, who knows. But Notre Dame looked fantastic going into that game. And so that set the bar really high. It was Notre Dame's best scoring margin they had all season. The next best would have been Wake Forest, I think a 38-0 win towards the end of the season. But to start off your first game beating the opponent by 40 points, good grief. I mean, let me put it this way, Stevie. If Notre Dame beats Navy by 27 or more points this Saturday, I'm going to be a very, very happy person. Because on average, that's what national champions do.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's what you want. Like, I mean, if Notre Dame are to, successful this season, then they need to be, no disrespect to Navy, but they need to be beating teams like Navy by at least 27 points. Like,
well, and again, no disrespect to Navy, but I mean, let's face it, Notre Dame has superior talent. Navy's talent is inferior, right? They're playing football, right? But they're there to be in service of the armed forces of the United States, quite frankly, right? And that's and I say that with the utmost respect.
Of course.
But from a football standpoint, the players at Notre Dame are there to play football, right? So there's a little different of a mentality here. Now we have history, we owe Navy a lot, and and if anyone, okay, this is, I have to say this every year, every time we play Navy, like, do I want to end the series with Navy? The answer is no. Do we know if they're going to do triple option? No. But do I think they should play every year? The answer is also no. Now, what I would prefer, and this is just kind of to mix things up, is keep the service academy thing active, but just put all the academies on a rotation, right? Play the Naval Academy, then play Army, then play Air Force, right? Just put the academies on a rotation, and you see them once every 3-4 years, whatever. You want to mix in another team in there, whatever. Okay, I don't think the Coast Guard has a team. The Space Force of the United States doesn't have an academy yet, so we'll find out. That'll probably be on the moon whenever that happens, but but regardless, I did hear that Virgin Galactic is starting to put tourists into space, which is kind of fun. Yeah. I don't really know what that means, but then people spending a lot of money to be put in a potentially very dangerous situation. Well, I'm an aerospace engineer, so I'm like, oh, I don't know if I would do that. Regardless, no, I'm really happy that Notre Dame is playing Navy. I have no problems with it. Should they be on a rotation? Maybe. One man's opinion. But no, if we put up anything close to what we did against Navy in 2012, I think we're okay. I think we're in good shape.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Hopefully they should. It's I can't see any other scenario than Notre Dame winning by 20 plus points anyway.
Yeah, I agree. I think if we win by 20, I think it'd be okay. I mean, I would prefer 30 plus, 40 plus. Everyone wants a curb stomping of the opponent, right? Is that realistic in the first game? I don't know. I mean, and maybe that was kind of what led to some of the magic of the 2012 season. I don't know. I mean, I went on a statistical breakdown of how quote unquote Marcus Freeman could do in his first year coaching and compared him to other successful coaches last year. And 9-4 was actually above the rim. That was above the average. So are my expectations higher? Absolutely, they're higher because they were higher last year. He beat out what the average, coach did, winning a title in their first year with said program. Okay.
Yeah.
So
we hope that learned a bit as well from his first full season. It's kind of why, it kind of felt like last season was a bit of no one expected anything. We kind of all were like, okay, let's kind of in the best way possible. Let's get this season over. Let's give him his first season as head coach and just see what happens. And then next season, this season coming is the real season where things should start to. You should start to see a real team. What's the word? Team kind of
chemistry or
camaraderie.
camaraderie.
Our camaraderie, everything. Just we should hopefully see more of what a Marcus Freeman led team should be and what he wants it to be, and hopefully that is something good. So the fact that it was about last season, you would hope that this season should be a bit better. Will it be perfect? I don't think so. I think that there's still too many things that need work. Maybe they won't, but we'll see.
Yeah, I don't want to put the expectations so high in year 2 for Marcus Freeman to go. Now, what I will say, let me put it another way: if Sam Hartman wasn't on the team, I would probably have a little bit different of an opinion about my personal expectations about this season. But because we have Sam Hartman, my expectations are actually quite high because I see someone who has proven himself. And if you go back 2 weeks ago to the podcast where I broke down Sam Hartman versus quote unquote good teams, he actually did really well. And furthermore, he did better than other quote unquote good quarterbacks that we as Notre Dame fans like, i.e. Brady Quinn and Jimmy Clausen. He was by far better than those two guys against quote good teams. So that gives me confidence going into this season with Sam Hartman transferring from Wake Forest, a team that, was so talent and so strength of schedule, kind of a middle of the road ACC schedule and ACC team, to then jump in and start playing at Notre Dame, and maybe there's a little bit of Notre Dame arrogance, but okay, we're Notre Dame and we play this high schedule and we're going to play Ohio State and Clemson and USC and da-da-da-da. And it's okay, these are things that do actually happen at Notre Dame. Is Sam Hartman ready? And I think the answer to that is yes. And the proof of that is this Saturday in Dublin.
Yeah. Absolutely. No better place to do it.
That's right. No better place. Well, I see Jason there at IrishJTL on the Twitter. You've been invited to speak. You're on mute. Go ahead and hit the pink button if you wish to join in and contribute. Jason, welcome back.
Hey, guys. How's it going?
Yo.
Sorry, I'm home alone. I was dealing with the dogs while I was listening, so I couldn't accept before.
What are you talking about? Bring the dogs on. It's no big deal. It's all good.
They're a pain in the ass. They're loud. One of them's a hound dog, so he's just baying at the door.
That's okay. That's all right. We'll play some Elvis. It'll be all good. What do you think of this game? First question, are you going to the game?
In Ireland, no. I picked Clemson as my away game this year. I had to go to Mexico in May, so I couldn't pull 2 international trips.
You have to go to Mexico in May.
I had to go. I went. My friend got married down there as a destination wedding, and I performed it, so I had to go. Didn't enjoy it. It was 110. I'm fat. I did not like it.
Out of curiosity, where in Mexico?
Cancun, Playa del Carmen.
Right on. Yeah, I've heard good things. Cozumel is actually on my bucket list, believe it or not.
It's hot, dude.
It's hot, but Cozumel's a little unique. It's got a little bit more out in the Gulf. A little bit separated from the mainland. Just my opinion. Cozumel's on the bucket list. But anyway, enough about Mexico and vacations here. What do you think of the Irish going in on Saturday? Are you freaking out like I was earlier about how the fuck is it football season already? Or are you just yeah, bring it on, let's go, beat Navy?
I joked with my wife and kids the other day that my life will have meaning again come August 26th. They do a lot to fulfill it, but the meaning, So I'm not. I heard your 27 points thing, and I got to tell you, Joe, I hope I'm expecting and hoping it's like a 52-14 game. I want
Talk dirty to me. Talk to me.
I want a 38-point offensive showcase.
Woo!
We've got seniors that have seen that triple option at linebacker, and I'm obviously our secondary compared to Navy's passing game should be up to par. So I'm hoping that happens. I honestly, when you guys were talking about the expectations, I see 10-2. Probably, I think 11-1 is doable. Ohio State seems to not have their quarterback situation figured out.
Yeah,
I don't.
They do have to figure that shit out.
I'm not a big believer in Klubnik yet. We got to go on the road there. That's tough. I see USC being a loss, which is going to hurt at home. But I think they get it done against Ohio State. And I think Clemson's 50-50. As long as they avoid a trap at Louisville or Duke, I think 11-1 is entirely possible.
I appreciate that you've kind of taken a very wide macro view of the whole season and brought us back to kind of preseason expectations, preseason understanding. Do you let me say this, because I said this on a previous show. Do you think that Notre Dame has the chops to finally get the BCS? I'm talking Rose Bowl, Sugar Bowl, Fiesta Bowl, Cotton Bowl, Peach Bowl, Orange Bowl. Get that New Year's Six style bull monkey off our back. Do you think we can finally go to one of those games this year and win it?
I think if there's a year that we can, it's got to be this year. I think the issue in the past, and Michigan's kind of catching this too, and I hate when people make me have to defend Michigan, but it's really easy to talk about those bowl records when, two of them are college football playoff games against juggernauts in which we were more competitive in the championship game. But this is the year to do it. My hot take for the year, I think Alabama finishes outside the top 10. I don't think they're going to get the quarterback figured out. I think LSU, Tennessee, and Georgia are clearly better in those, and I think they dropped the Iron Bowl. So without Alabama I don't believe Alabama will be there. I don't think LSU's quite in that juggernaut range. I think we could play with LSU at this point right now. So this would be the year to do it if we get to the playoff, or we do a 10-2 and do a Peach Bowl. I think we're capable this year, and if not this year, then it's going to get tougher because Saban will get Milroe there, who I think is going to start, and Ohio State's got 2 5-stars battling it out, but I don't think they figure it out this year. Next year, they're going to be on the up again. So I think Harrison Jr. wins the Heisman, even with a suspect quarterback.
I think the Ohio State situation is interesting because I think this is where you really, I don't want to say, Ryan Day has had, a red carpet and the yellow brick road in front of him. But the quarterback situation has always been very clear for him, if I may say. But this is really the first year that Ryan Day really needs to use his own judgment and opinion and this, that, and the other to make a decision as a head coach based off of what he's seeing in practice. Where previously it was always okay, you got CJ Stroud and he's amazing. Yeah, of course he's starting quarterback number 1, right? I think Notre Dame is going to hopefully live off of that clearly this year. And then going into maybe next year, who knows with CJ Carr and Minchie and Jelly, we'll let them duke that out next year. But we don't have to worry about that right now going into this Navy game. I think with Ohio State, our opponent coming up in a few weeks here, I think that's something that Notre Dame will have, is my hope, a proven quarterback going into that game. We've got Navy, then Tennessee State, we've got Central Michigan, NC State, and whoever else we got coming up before that game. Okay, Notre Dame. I will say this. Let me throw it back to you. Notre Dame, this is the first time I actually really like their schedule. We get the, quote, random, weird, big show on the road game. Like last year was Vegas, and as much as I love that game, it was in like kind of the middle of the season. It was kind of disruptive. And then what happened the next week? We lost to a shitty Stanford game. Now, is that a response to the Shamrock Series? I don't know. But I'm really happy that the first like weird game, and I don't mean like weird like negative, like, but it's just like it's out of place. Like it's very far away. You know, it's Stevie. I don't know what the flight is there. You know, but it's like a 7-8 hour flight out of Chicago from all the way to Ireland. Okay. Like that does something to your team. I'm happy to get that going in week 1. If Notre Dame played every Shamrock Series in week 1, you know, this weird kick off the season with lots of fireworks and, you know, whatever, I'm okay with that in week 1. And then just kind of like, you know, punch a clock, get into the routine of the season right after that. You know, eliminate the weirdness around midterms, you know, like that's always like a big deal already. If we have the big game to start the season, and then we go down the list, go down the schedule, go down these lower level teams, because let's face it, Central Michigan, Tennessee State, right? Even, you know, Louisville, right? Come on. These are not, you know, big, you know, scary opponents that Notre Dame has to play right off the bat. We get 4 or 5 games at the beginning of the season, and then we play Ohio State at home. You know what? That's okay. So I really think that the way the schedule is working out is actually into Notre Dame's favor. Their 3 toughest games that they're playing, 2 of them are at home. And the third, Clemson, I would actually argue is quote unquote, like if you take a recency bias, the weakest. You know, I think USC is on the uptick per se. And then so is Ohio State, but both of those games are at home. We kicked Clemson's ass last year, and that's the away game. So you know maybe they've got some sharks. Stevie, do they have sharks in Ireland? I don't know, but
not any dangerous ones anyway.
Not dangerous sharks. All right, so you got Clemson's dangerous sharks swimming going into that game, but there is blood in the water. You know, they remember what happened. You know, I'm the a-hole on Twitter that was saying, you know, I need to find the guy that was given the offensive lineman for Clemson the middle finger. I need to find that guy. I don't think that was Stevie. I think that was someone else. We got to get that guy on the podcast. So if anyone knows who I'm talking about, bring him on. If he's your friend or not your friend, or you just know who that is, you know, by all means, slip him a business card. There you go. But I'm happy that this game is starting off the season, that we're gonna go that route to start the season, and then you know, kind of the season will just play out after that, and then you know we just kind of like bring in the soldiers in the shell within 300. You know, just like hold. You know, like that's all we need to do. We don't have to like be apprehensive and waiting for this big like production that's going to happen in Vegas or Boston, or pick your favorite Shamrock Series location.
No, I'm with you there. I want to kind of address that and what you said about the figuring out, you know, the Ryan Day thing where his quarterback's always kind of been set. I think with Hartman there, this is the season that Freeman needs to start making that kind of thing happen. And that's why I want to see a 52-14 type Navy game. I want to come back home to Tennessee State, and I want to kick the shit out of them. I don't want and the same with Central Michigan. I want Minchie getting meaningful snap. Not meaningful, but game speed reps. I don't think Angeli's the ball. I love the kid, but let's make sure by the time we get to Ohio State that if something happens to Hartman, and going into next year when CJ's coming in, that Minchie's ready to go. He's getting snapped because we're blowing out the teams that we're supposed to. Hartman should get ultra comfortable with Alt and Fisher and Zeke on that offensive line. Yeah. I don't know I don't know who's going to win the guard battles. I don't really care at this point. With those three guys, they should be contending with Michigan for the Joe Moore Award. Anything less than that is almost unacceptable to me with those three guys. So Hartman should be ultra comfortable after Tennessee State. And we need to be putting up 45 and 50 points with the secondary playing well, the linebackers at least being in position, because they're all, fourth and fifth year seniors. They should at least be in position, even if they're not the most athletic, and letting the defensive line come into its own. And if they can do that, Minty can start getting snaps. And then when we get into the meat of the season, he's not going to get those. He's not getting those against Ohio State no matter what. I don't think Louisville scares me on the road, to be honest with you. That's a trap game, besides Duke. And then he's not getting that against USC or Clemson. We're just not going to blow them out enough for that. And so those first, I think, 3 games are going to be huge, not only for this season, but going forward. Can we get that young kid some real game time snaps against the first team defense and let him work out some of those kinks instead of being Tyler Buckner last year, who really didn't ever get to come in and do that because we didn't blow people out. We just didn't do it.
I'm really happy you're talking about blowing out the opponent, because if you take a understanding of what other teams are doing, and not that we need to be chameleons and copy and paste what the other quote unquote good guys are doing that are winning titles. That's not what I'm saying. But there is something to say about if you are hoisting the trophy, typically you're blowing out the inferior opponents, and you're allowing your program to build by allowing the backup guys, allowing the backup quarterbacks, the Minchies, the Angelis, whoever it is, okay? That's up to Gino Guidugli and Gerard Parker and Marcus Freeman to figure out of who number 2 quarterback is. I would assume it's Minchie just based off of talent, but it may be Angeli based off of his limited experience and that he's been there a little bit longer. We don't know. I'll let the coaches figure that out. And at this point, I'm not, one way or the other as far as my preference. But you're 100% right, Jason, when you say we need to blow out teams, because if you blow out the teams, you're allowing the second string guys to get some playing times, get some experience. So when their number is called, be it just simple rotation of, from year to year, or worst case scenario, you have an injury, God forbid, knock on wood, right? You need to have your second string guys ready to go. You're still playing the big bad opponent. You're still playing at Notre Dame, and you were brought into this program for a reason, to deliver and to be successful and to help this team and service this team to be successful. So I'm really glad you brought that up, Jason. The expectations are high. They should be high. And when you're going against a team like Navy in Ireland, where we have vastly superior talent, they have inferior talent. They're rebuilding most of their entire team, at least on the coaching staff for the most part. I really think that Notre Dame can take advantage of this situation.
Yeah, Jason is spot on. Like, we should be consistently beating the teams by large margins when we're expected to beat them. Like, it's always been a big frustration, particularly in Brian Kelly's years, that the teams that we should have been comfortably beating, we never were, which meant that the backups never got the game time that would have helped them and the team down the line when injuries or whatever occurred. So it should always be happening that we should be beating the Navies and Louisville or whoever else we're playing, that we should be beating them by the 20 or 30 points minimum.
Yeah, no, I agree with you 100%, Steven. Well, okay, we've Jason, anything last to say? Otherwise, we're going to go off to Todd Watson, who's been invited to speak. If Todd, you want to join on, by all means, jump on and jump on and give your opinion. If not, forever hold your peace, or just if you just want to listen, that's cool too. But Jason, any final thoughts going into this game?
Nope, I have nothing else. I'm going to sit back and listen and enjoy. I'm excited for another football season. I hope to see you guys around campus this year.
Yeah, absolutely. I personally will be at both Pitt and Wake Forest. As you know, or my co-host Stevie D. Irish will be at Ireland. A question for Steve, and you don't have to go into details if you don't want to, but has anyone reached out to you on Twitter, or are you going to be meeting anybody new from the Notre Dame Twitterati or any other new Notre Dame fans that whatever, or what's the story there?
Yeah, I've had a couple of people message just to say, like, you know, they're going to be over, and if we were going to just, you know, potentially meet up. So,
that's fantastic.
Yeah, hopefully we'll meet a couple of guys.
Yeah, that would be great. Yeah, that was always fun at either blue and gold games or even at actual games, meeting our friends on Twitter. You know, I mean, we engage a lot over this platform, and I mean, you know, I mean, most of these, I mean, Stevie, we would never have met. You would never have been a co-host if we had never met everyone on this show. We met on Twitter, clearly because we're live on Twitter, but. No, it's been a good way to bring the Irish faithful together. Happy to be able to integrate Twitter Spaces with the podcast and Dust Leprechauns Media and bring it all kind of into one. If anyone has a Twitter account, by all means, this is cool. If people have a Twitter account, so all right. Well, Todd is just listening. That's cool.
Anyone that's listening that's coming over, let me know, and it'd be great to meet up for a pint of Guinness or something.
Absolutely. At Stevie D. Irish, by all means, if you are going to Ireland, you are listening to this podcast, by all means, I mean, clearly he's a nice person, and is on the show tonight. He is my co-host. Give this man a follow. And link up with him on Twitter or whatever. I imagine, you know, you'll be obliged. So
absolutely, yeah.
All right, Kevin Davis, you've been invited to speak here. We need the Secretary of Defense of Notre Dame football to jump on. Kevin Davis 0560 on the Twitter if you wish to join us. If not, no big deal. We'll jump around to a few people. We've talked about Notre Dame versus Navy, and we've talked about how I think Notre Dame has the potential versus Navy this year with Sam Hartman, with the returning production we have. Now, there's a couple of question marks at receiver, but if you go back to the game from 2012, the stats we laid out earlier, you know, passing yards, Notre Dame was barely better than Navy, right? We didn't even crack 200. Grant, that was Everett Golson's first game. But yeah, we had just simply one passing touchdown in that game. So nothing too exciting, nothing to blow my skirt up. But anyway, I see Kevin Davis here. Kevin, if you wish to join us and drop us some knowledge at Kevin Davis, please join us.
Good evening. Good evening. It's about that time. Week 0 is finally here.
Isn't it? It's crazy. Live from Ireland. At least my co-host is.
Yeah. That'd be nice. Yeah, I'm looking forward to this weekend. I personally think that and I love, of course, I love defense. I don't know what we're going to do. Because we don't know what they're going to do offensively. So, I just want to see how we start based on what we see and how our defense adjusts to it. Whether that's the triple option or if that's, I don't know, what maybe Navy will go spread. I don't know.
The last I did with my research was that it was a quote unquote spread option. Now, I don't know necessarily quote unquote what that means, But what I do know is I can pretty much imagine whatever Kennesaw State was doing the last few years, that's probably what we're going to see, right?
Yeah. And if we do see that, I mean, I think we have the defense to defend any type of spread type concept. It's just that triple option. Of course, I always worried about our interior interior linebackers. So, and that's still going to be, I think, a question mark. But we'll see some this first game, depending on how much they run this ball up the middle and how much they challenge our interior linebackers. But I saw that.
Kevin, do you really think it's a question mark because we have so many guys in the interior returning this year from last year? Is it really a question mark, or is it more the question mark of these guys responding to what we think Navy may throw at them?
Yeah, so it's the response, right? And I just look at the depth chart. Kaiser is going to be a rover, and Marifal is going to be the wheel. I would have swapped the two,
okay.
So I want to see how that looks with Kaiser at the rover and Marifal at the wheel. I would thought they would put Marifal at least at the Viper position every once in a while, but I don't know. I mean, they don't know what they're going to get. Who knows what they're going to do by the end of the game? We might see something totally different by the end of the game. So I don't know. I'm just excited for the game.
Yeah, I don't think that. I think Navy is smart enough to know that they can't roll out exactly what Grant Chestnut was doing at Kennesaw State. I imagine that they will do some sort of hybrid. And in my opinion, I think it's in Navy's best interest to move beyond triple option and eat. I'm not saying go full air raid, but they do need to be passing the ball more. And
it's outdated.
Pardon?
The triple option is outdated.
It is, and though it's nasty, and I love it, and it gets my hashtag RTDB juices flowing. It's not a recipe for success. We talk about stats of champions on this show. Stevie D. Irish knows what it is, but number one is total touchdowns scored. After that, it's passing touchdowns, right? So you have to pass.
Yeah.
You must have passing touchdowns. And if you're running triple option, that doesn't really happen. So, now unless you have, I don't know, pick your favorite pro offensive line, team, from the 80s or 70s or whatever. That's not happening here in college, especially at the Naval Academy. So running triple option, the power sweep is not part of the playbook. And, if that is what Navy is going to run, and now let's back the bus up. Is Navy honestly thinking they're going to win the national championship? No. Do they want success and this, that, and the other? Sure. But that's okay. We're not doing the Navy podcast. We're doing the Notre Dame football podcast. So it's Notre Dame's response, at least on defense, to stop Navy, to score more points than the other team, to score more points than Navy, and to stifle whatever they throw out there, whether it's triple option, whether it's air raid, or whether it's spread option. I don't know. It's probably be the last one.
Yeah, and so the another thing that Navy had as their benefit was that the triple option allowed them to manage the clock, right? If they go to the air, I think if they go to the air, that's a longer game, and that's definitely not going to benefit them if they make it a longer game. I think that's not in their best interest, but we will see.
Yeah, we will see. We will see for sure. Kevin, do you have a prediction for this game? We got Todd's just listening, but we got Coach Barsegian, who's I think might close us out. Kevin, do you have a prediction or any final thoughts here?
I'm gonna go 42-6.
4 zeros to 6?
42 to 6.
42 to 6. I love it.
I think Hartman is gonna come try to show some people some stuff. with me.
Talk to me. What do you got? What's he got? Four passing touchdowns? What's the breakdown there?
Yeah. I'm thinking at least 4.
4 and 2.
4.
I'm okay with that.
Yeah.
I'd be okay with that. Thank you, Kevin, for joining us and for your contributions. The Secretary of Defense at Davis0560, the Fighting Irish Faithful Show, powered by Dos Leprechauns Media. Thank you, Kevin. Really appreciate it. Stevie, real quick, we didn't have this discussion beforehand. Do you have a preference between running the football or passing the football, or are you just like squirt points? I don't give a shit how it happens.
No, I think I would be probably more of a RTDB as well.
That's what I'm talking about.
But not by much. I do like the passing game. I think,
it's exciting, right?
It's exciting, yeah. It makes it a little bit more interesting, but, let other teams do that. We just want to get the ball down the field and into the end zone. So if you can do it by running, all the better.
And that's my thought. Like passing is so sexy. It's so fluid. It's so picturesque. Like like go back to when you're a kid, right? Any of our listeners, go back to when you're young. You think about catching the end zone and scoring the big touchdown. It was always a pass. It was never like, oh, I'm gonna break tackles and do a juke or a spin move and or Mac truck somebody and get into the end zone. Like Ray Zellers or Tony Brooks, none of that crap, that never crossed your mind. But as time has gone on, I've really appreciated the running game, and that's really, really become just like, it's just this safe place that I just love to live in, and I wish Notre Dame could score all the time that way. If it happens, great. If not, no big deal. So.
Absolutely, yeah. It's definitely safer because for the last few years, it feels like every time the ball was in the air, that it was just as likely to be a turnover as a touchdown. Yeah, it really was like that.
Where is my beer? Okay, yeah, exactly. All right, well, we've invited, I think we'll let Coach Parsegian, we're almost 2 hours in tonight. I think it's time to wrap up. It's late over there in Ireland here. Coach Parsegian, from the grave, Coach, welcome back to the Fighting Irish Faithful Show.
Thank you for having me back. It's been, I noticed a little while ago, it's been like 3, maybe 4 months since I've last really been on Twitter. So, I've got to rest in peace at some point every now and then.
Yeah, that's right. The football season, we are literally kicking off the football season tonight. Technically this is, episode 6 of the season, where were you in the spring? But that's okay. I respect your privacy, Coach.
Well, you used to let me know whenever you would be doing something. And
Trust me, man. It's out there on Twitter. Man. I don't know.
Anyway, I've still yet to receive an answer to my question that I tweeted earlier tonight. I've also had my own sports issues going on this summer, if you catch my drift with that.
I understand. Well, Coach, what's your thought here about Notre Dame versus Navy in general, or this game specifically, or the overall season? It's been a while since. For anyone who doesn't know, Coach Parsegian at one point was our most loyal contributor on the live shows, even more loyal than Red Snapper. And that's no disrespect to Red Snapper. But Coach Parsegian had been on every show, anything from having snacks that we knew if he was like the Brad Pitt of our podcast.
Well, I know the last time I said this, Notre Dame kind of screwed the pooch and blew it, but I'm not worried about Navy. I'm not worried about Navy.
Well, that wasn't the Navy game that you said that.
No, I know, but the last time I said I'm not worried and I wouldn't be worried, they kind of choked. But at the same time,
what was that, Marshall or something? Stanford?
Yeah, it was Marshall.
Ugh.
But this isn't Marshall. This is a service academy who traditionally flounders. Now they've
and first game of the year,
under
I
Brian
think
Kelly,
Notre
they
Dame has
had
done
Notre
pretty
Dame's
well
number.
first game of the year. The only exception to that would be, South Florida at home. But that that's under Brian Kelly, so we don't have to worry about that.
Yes, exactly. And good grief, why LSU is ranked in the top 5 is beyond me.
Well, yeah, I mean, we said this earlier in the show. We are not paying attention to any preseason polls just because. Why would you do that? Nothing's happened.
It's just to get buzz. That's the only purpose it's even done.
Yeah, forget about it. We'll wait till week 4. But anyway, Coach, continue.
Anyway, I'm not worried. They may come out flat just because of the plane ride, but I wouldn't be concerned. There's nothing serious to worry about. I mean, it's not like you're a pitcher for the New York Yankees. So, if you catch my drift with that one.
A little bit. I'm not really a Yankee guy, but
giving up home runs constantly while your offense is unable to score.
Okay.
Let's put it that way.
I appreciate you writing that in crayon for me. All right, so Coach, clearly
Where's 5 foot
you do
nothing
not.
when I need it?
I know.
Where's 5 foot nothing when I need it?
I did send him an invite, but it is earlier down there in Texas. He's been busy. Let me say this: if anyone has survived this long in the podcast, or even our people live, Coach Barsegian, CVD Irish, Kevin Davis, Adam Dowling, anyone who's listening live, give 5 foot nothing pod some garbage, a little bit of garbage on Twitter. All right, I'm going to the Pitt game with him. He's busy. We respect that, but man, look, at some point you got to say, look, I got this podcast to do. Look, family, jump on with me, or let me do this. Okay, look. You can do whatever you want, 5 foot nothing pod. I'm just saying, people want to hear from you. Coach Barsegian, 2-time national champion, has just come out here and said, I want to get your opinion. I've just made a Yankees reference. I need you to back me up. I'm just saying.
He was there every time Judge hit a home run, it seemed, last year.
I know. With the deuce, and it's... I mean, for him, it's baseball season. He's got his boys, right?
Like, he's down in Texas, so...
He's being a good dad,
Central
whatever.
Time. It's not like it's that late where he's at.
I don't know. Do Texans eat dinner later like they do in Spain? I don't know. I mean, it's...
There's no telling.
Who knows?
Out there with their deserts.
It doesn't. Well, he's down in Corpus Christi. That's I don't know. That's practically Louisiana, right? I don't know.
Well, yeah, it is closer to the bayou.
All right, we're over 2 hours in. Coach, any final thoughts? I think we should let the co-host retire for the morning.
Even if it's a low scoring game, I feel like it will be Navy with the low score.
Okay.
I really don't see Notre Dame blowing this.
Yeah.
I mean, it's year 2.1 of Freeman having his system in.
I appreciate that. 2.1. That's fantastic. That's fantastic. Does so are you saying, so let me get this straight. You're just more like with game 1, a win is a win, or do you want a blowout?
I expect a blowout because it's Navy, but especially if Navy's getting away from the triple option. But it's in a completely different country. It's going to be, I expect similar to 2012, if that makes sense. It's going to be a Notre Dame dominating game.
Similar to 2012.
Yeah.
I'm on board with that. 50-10. I don't know what the standard deviation of that game is, but let's just say it's 10 points either way. What are we at? 40-20? Notre Dame still wins by 20? I'm okay.
Yeah, so that's what I'm saying. I'm not concerned about it. I'm more like, I'm so focused on Ohio State and Clemson right now, it's ridiculous. Those are the 2 games that are causing me to lose sleep right now. USC's beatable, but Ohio State and Clemson are always, even if Clemson's down, it's Clemson.
Yeah.
They're still recent memory, good blue blood of college football right now. So
Right.
those are the two must wins outside of USC. So those are the only ones that are causing me to kind of roll over in my grave, if you will.
Yeah. I mean, right now, per teamrankings.com, Notre Dame has a 20.5 point.
Yeah. They're favored.
They're favored, right? So that's good. So, that 21 point, if you're thinking even a quote unquote poor performance relative to 2012, I think that it covers the spread. It wins you money in Vegas.
20.5 point poor performance is still a soundly dominating win.
Yeah.
So,
right.
it should be an exciting game as long as it's not like you got to subscribe to the Peacock to see it.
Oh, I'm
Like
sure we'll have that discussion later in the year versus the Central Michigan.
Thank goodness I jailbroke a Fire Stick, so I should be able to watch every single home game this year without any issues.
Very good. Very good. All right, Coach Warsegian, I really appreciate your contributions. I think that's a good way to close things down. Coach, any other final thoughts?
That's about it. Let's see who's the closest to their accuracy of predictions on Saturday.
Now we're talking. Thank you, Coach Warsegian, for joining us tonight on the Fighting Irish Faithful Show at Coach Warsegian on Twitter. Thank you so much, sir. Co-host Stevie D. Irish, I really appreciate you staying up this morning with us here.
Pleasure.
Thank you very, very, very much.
Well, it was fun.
It was fun. I hope that your work the rest of your work week is good, and safe travels for you back to Dublin, and that you have absolutely the time of your life watching our Fighting Irish play.
Yeah, absolutely. Looking forward to being up with fellow Notre Dame fans. I don't get to do it too often, so it's going to be great to meet new people and talk football with fellow Notre Dame fans.
Yeah, absolutely. No, it's a good time. Wow, I mean, I literally am like pinching myself right now, just saying, I can't believe that this Saturday we're watching Notre Dame football. Stevie, out of curiosity, and you may have to tweet this out. Yeah, I don't know what the concessions, like, beer, wine, sodas, water, nachos, hot dogs, what they serve in Aviva Stadium. I'm very curious. And we don't need to compare
hot dogs and beer. I think it's kind of Budweiser and Carlsberg, maybe. I'm not exactly sure of the beers, and Guinness. But actually, last year at the Northwestern Nebraska game, something happened with the card machines, so the beer was free for like 3/4 of the game.
Whoa!
So I don't think that'll happen again this year.
Bank error in your favor.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Note to self, Notre Dame fans. I'm pretty sure they've figured that out. They're like, we've really got to like up the price with these Notre Dame people.
It's going to be expensive anyway. As I say, like it's ridiculously expensive.
It's Dublin. Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
So you're anticipating a win? You're anticipating a victory. Are you driving home on that Saturday, or are you gonna drive home on Sunday?
I'll drive home on Sunday morning. I have to be back kind of early on Sunday. No, we'll wait. The game is on. It's kicking off at 7:30.
That's right. It is a night game for you guys.
Yeah, so it'll be quite late. So no, we'll go back have a few drinks somewhere, and then go back to the hotel.
All right, fantastic. Well, if anyone's listening to the show, I imagine if you hit up at Stevie D Irish on the Twitter, give him a ring. I'll throw this out here. He's a pretty approachable guy. He agreed to be the co-host tonight. I imagine he'd love to meet up with the Irish faithful. If you just say, "Hey, I heard you on the show," da 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 da. That's fantastic. Let's bring people together. Let's build this sucker, and let's bring Notre Dame fans together across continents. It's a fantastic. I'm so flippin' excited. We finally get to watch Notre Dame play again. I'm super pumped. I can't believe it's happening, but it's happening. Count down the days. Tell your employer, tell your spouse, whatever you got to do. It's happening. I've already talked to the doc. I'm already like scoping out the beer scene. My quote unquote routines are bottled beer and nachos during the game. I don't know if they sell nachos in Ireland. That's kind of more of a Hispanic thing, but
yeah, well, you can get them all right, but I'm not sure if they do it at the stadium. I would say not, probably.
Maybe there's a specialty restaurant. Who knows?
Yeah,
or some street vendor.
Or believe cinemas. It's a big thing in cinemas. Nachos and cheese.
Oh, there you go. Yeah, that sounds good. Yeah, good.
Real quick, what kind of snacks are available at the stadium in Ireland? Just out of curiosity.
At the stadium, you'd have so they do hot dogs anyway. They do. I don't tend to buy them because they're so ridiculously priced. But hot dogs.
Well, they are here too.
You'd get chocolate bars and potato chips and stuff like that.
I'm trying to remember, like when I was living in the UK, like we went to it was the Champions League. It was Derby County. We went to a soccer game for youth football. And we're like, we're in England. We need to go to a legit game, right? And Derby County was halfway decent, right? And they won the match, which was great. But what was weird is like the security was way better at the game than what anything I've ever experienced here in the States, and we don't have to go into that whole piece, but we were kind of walking around the stadium and like there were all these food vendors, and I don't know if we got a burger or a dog or something outside the stadium. And then you like walk through this little turnstile, and then you were like isolated to your little section. And then like you would get like a dog or a beer, but you'd have to like eat it under the stadium. You couldn't carry it up into the grandstands.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, it could be the same in the Aviva Stadium as well in Dublin. I'm pretty sure you can't bring it in. Officially, you can't bring it in either. I don't think you can, but come to think of it, I think people were bringing beers in last year. So
well, and maybe that's a function of like the passionate, fans of soccer and this, that, and the other, because and like don't get me wrong, like I lived in Derby, right? The derby between Derby County and Nottingham Forest was absolutely fierce, and so you hear all these crazy stories, and so clearly these security protocols are responses to those sorts of environments of just absolute chaos in the stands, where you have like double sections that are completely empty, just full of security guards to keeping the fans at bay so they don't throw hot dogs at each other. You know what I'm saying? Like
yeah. It's not as bad in Ireland. We have I don't know if you've ever seen it, our Gaelic football and our hurling.
Yep.
And like final day for that would be, there's another stadium in Ireland. It's Croke Park, and that's 83,000 capacity. And the fans would be totally mixed together in that. Like, you could be sitting down against your rival county, like, and it's almost always very respectful and stuff.
Interesting. Yeah, I don't think that. I mean, don't get me wrong. If those are the stadium protocols of Aviva Stadium, what happens is what happens. I mean, this is, hey, you're in another country. Those are the rules. Hey, it is what it is. But no, I mean, so we got Celtic chant going on right now. I think some of these little particulars about the stadium will be very interesting as we as we hear from the Irish faithful, anyone who's going, let me say this: if anyone is actually going to the game, if anyone would like to chime in other than CVD Irish, we will do a post game show. Doc's already talked to me about that. She's on board. We'll get the mics fired up after the game, Stevie. If you're out there to socialize and you're meeting people, no big deal. If anyone else is going to the game or people watching on the States or across the world, we're excited to watch our Irish, and we'll talk about the game post game. We will have post game shows. Will we go the full 2+ hours like we did tonight? We don't know, but no, we're excited. The Irish are coming.
Yep, and there's a trophy for it too.
And I can't imagine how excited you are, Mr. Stevie D. Irish.
Oh, absolutely. Cannot wait.
You literally have waited years for...
11 years since that time. Hopefully, a couple of years I'll get to South Bend.
Trust me. Hey, I will say this, man. If I ever won the lottery, I'd give you a call. I'll fly you over first class and be like, my brother, you need to come over. Let's go.
Listen to you talk about winning the lottery. You're like Ben Shapiro. Your wife is a doctor.
Yeah, but she's on sabbatical, right? She's got a kid in the womb and we've got a toddler at home, right? Whatever. All right, Notre Dame is returning, and the game will be on NBC for everyone watching in the States. So hopefully we don't have Tom Hammond, but most likely we will have Jack Collinsworth and company taking care of us.
I love Tom Hammond. How dare you disrespect the name of Tom Hammond?
Mixed feelings about Tom Hammond here, but
he's better than Doug Flutie.
You're
he definitely Doug Flutie, that's for sure.
I will not argue with that 100%. All right, Stevie D. Irish, any final thoughts, any words of advice for anyone coming to Ireland? Anything we should look out for, or
if anyone's going and have a bit of time, the Guinness tour, that's really worth a trip. You get to pull your own pint of Guinness, and it's right from the warehouse, so that's well worth a trip. And in general, just soak up the atmosphere.
Absolutely fantastic. Well, Stevie, look, we are so honored and happy that you have stayed up super, super late. Hope your workday does not suck too bad tomorrow. Really appreciate you taking the sacrifice to stay up late. Join the podcast live from the Republic of Ireland, Stevie D. Irish on Twitter. Everyone give this man a follow. If you're following me and you're not following this man, seriously, rethink your life. All right, appreciate it. Stevie, thank you very much. Anyone from Coach Barstigi and Kevin Davis to Jason to Adam Dowling, all of the above, thank you everyone for joining us tonight. We are so excited. Volume 92, Season 4, Episode 6 of the Fighting Irish Faithful show, part of the Dos Leprechauns media universe. Thank you for joining us tonight. We are excited. We get to see our Irish. And if you're in Ireland, hit up my co-host, my brother in the blue and gold, Stevie D. Irish.
Go Irish.
Go Irish and beat midshipmen. And we'll finish off with the normal theme.
Throws the ball. It is caught. Reggie Brooks. Reggie Brooks got it for a two-pointer. And Notre Dame is out in front 17-16. Lost the ball. The pass is batted down. It's batted down by Carroll.
It's caught by Samaja. Inside the 20. Inside the 10. He's going in. Notre Dame has scored.
Dawson throws. Open receiver in the end zone.
Touchdown. Notre Dame. Somehow the Irish did it.
Out of the pack, 30, 35. Goodbye, baby. At the 50, the 40, the 30, the 20, the 10. 5-5 rocket touchdown. Irish.
Tyree. Whoa. Can he get there? Tyree at the 30, 20, 10. Touchdown, Notre Dame. Woo, 98. Big one.
Husky looking for a block. Cuts to the right to the 40. Gets a block. Gets to the 45, 50. Up to the 45, 40, 30. One man to beat. 20, 15, 10. He's down to the 5. Touchdown Irish.